Hello everyone, it is Guys here. Welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. Today's video I want to talk about my issues with the Gladiator perks, whatever you want to call it, the one-handed melee build in this game. Because I've noticed that I have never, ever seen a Gladiator build out in the wild, or at least I've seen maybe two. I've seen a lot more shotgun builds than I have seen Gladiator builds. And why is that? And that's just because the Gladiator weapons are just super underpowered. And I'm going to give you a quick example on how they're underpowered right now. Alright, so for this example, I'm going to take a quick look at the knives. So currently in my inventory, I have a level 45 Bowie knife that does 91 damage, and this is with the Gladiator perks, right? Okay, so, and then let's look at the combat knife. It's 100 damage with the combat knife, compared to a Bowie knife. Now, why do I have an issue with this? Look at the size of the combat knife's blade, and look at the size of the Bowie knife's blade. Don't you see an issue here? Why does a Bowie knife with a much larger blade so much? It's not even that much weaker than the combat knife's blade. It's a little bit smaller, right? Like, you would think that, oh hey, maybe the Bowie knife would do a lot more damage since it's a much bigger blade, and when you stab it into somebody, it's gonna leave a lot bigger of a puncture hole. But apparently no. Apparently this knife is a lot more powerful than this one. Also, just look at the handle too. This one doesn't have a lot of grip to it, and this one does. Okay, so let me just take off the Gladiator perks here. We're gonna run away from that situation. Let's take a look at. Oh, I hate these. Let's take a look at the damage now. Yeah, it's still pretty shit. And that 100, right? You know, that 100 is now an 80. Okay, so now let's look at our lovely two-handed weapon here. It does 212 damage compared to 90 damage of the combat knife. Now that doesn't make any sense to me. Well, the two-handed thing does, because clearly it's a much bigger blunt object compared to what the fuck? Where did this find me? Compared to the knives, you know, I would expect this to do a lot more damage, right? So, you know, one hit that guy, 420. Okay, not too bad. Anyway, let's just take a look at another weapon in the category. We have the Sheep Squatch Staff. Does 190 damage base, okay? And then let's look at the Chinese sword. 91. Compared. Okay, so the Chinese sword, 91 damage. The combat knife, 84. Apparently now we're at 84. Okay. Again, do you not see my issue with this? How is this slightly stronger than the combat knife, but the combat knife is stronger than this with a bigger blade? I don't get the way that Bethesda did the damage. Just doesn't make any sense to me. And I know it's a video game, but I mean, seriously? This does more damage than this? What the fuck? You see what I mean, right? It doesn't make any sort of sense that a Bowie knife does less damage than a combat knife at all to me. It just doesn't, right? You know, bigger blade, you know, a lot width blade, which is also even longer compared to the combat knife, does more damage. The combat knife does more damage. Doesn't make any sense to me. I have two ways that Bethesda can possibly fix Gladiator itself, because I want to see more Gladiator builds. It is a very fun build to play as, but it's just super underpowered, which I guess goes for a lot of the melee builds, really except for Slugger, but I mean Slugger is kind of in a weird state as well. Obviously, the first way they could buff Gladiator builds is just to simply buff every single weapon in the category to be on par with the plasma cutter and the and then the sheep squatch club, because they're the two most powerful weapons in the entire category, with the sheep squatch staff doing 60 and the plasma cutter doing a cool 74. I don't have access to the plasma cutter. I do have access to the sheep squatch club, and from what I could feel while I was playing, if that makes any type of sense, it was just a lot more fun to play with the club than the knives, and it goes for a lot of the other weapons in the category as well, because the rolling pin sucks, the tie iron sucks, walking cane sucks, the ski sword's kind of good mid-game, but after that it kind of sucks. Sickle's never fucking good. The paddle ball, keep it where it's at. I think it's just a fun weapon to use. The machete is it's a decent weapon. Same with the Gladiator. Same with the guitar sword. Who remembers that the hatchet exists? Who the hell remembers that the bone club exists? It's just like a lot of weird weapons are just thrown into this category. Like the drill. Why is there a drill? Why does the drill have to be in one-handed? Why? And I don't get why Bethesda didn't throw all of the auto melee weapons in their own category with this with the Expedition update, considering that the auto axe is a two-handed. It doesn't make any sense to me, but still, so they could just buff everything. Don't make everything good as the club. I would say just add 5 to 10 extra base damage to every weapon would be a good start, except for the paddle ball. That's just a fun weapon to use. But every weapon should get, except for the Ripper, the paddle ball, and the drill, should get a 5 to 10 plus base damage boost, because right now it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then also rethinking their logic behind the damage as well, because again, a Bowie knife has a much bigger width of a blade, has a lot longer of a blade, but then does a lot less damage than a combat knife, which doesn't make any sense to me. The Bowie knife is almost on par with the Switchblade, with 30 damage to the Switchblade at level 50, and the Bowie knife having 30 as well. They are on par with each other. The Switchblade is a much smaller blade. The Bowie knife is a much bigger blade, but for some reason do the same damage. And then the Cultist blade, 32 damage base. What the fuck? It doesn't make any sense to me, Bethesda. So do that, and maybe if you guys add new Gladiator weapons, people actually use your weapons. Just a thought. If you want them to use the content that you guys have put your blood, sweat, and tears into, for God's sakes, buff the Gladiator category. And the final way Bethesda can go about fixing the card is to simply just buff the amount of damage the cards give you per level. So currently it is a max of 20 per card, which is a grand total of 60. What they could do is they could buff all of the cards to be 40 or 30 even, to make it, instead of 60, it would be 120 more damage, or it would be 90 if they did the 30. I could see the 30 being a lot more of an approachable stance for Bethesda, because currently, if you're not doing bloodied single-handed melee or junkies even, it's just not even really worth it, in my opinion, to even use single one-handed melee weapons. I'm doing a build now on one-handed melee weapons that may or may not be a stealth build. Check that in the future. But yeah, it's just in a really bad state, which is kind of why I made this video, because I am a preacher. Of different builds. I want to see this game flourish more like of a MMO. You see all kinds of classes. In this case, it's all kinds of builds. But you know, it's not really like that. But I'll probably get into more of what I want out of Fallout, or what I more of want. What I want out of Fallout 76 and how I want to see the community rather than just a bunch of stealth commandos or heavy gunners. That's just me though. But yeah, like I said, buffing the cards I feel like would fix a lot of issues for me because there's a little bit more of a incentive to actually use the weapon category because there's a lot of really cool weapons in there, but it's just they're just super weak compared to everything else. And there's just no point on leveling up to even use said builds. But that's just my take on it. Originally, I was going to do a whole section talking about how I wanted to see a samurai sword added. Apparently, it is a Atomic Shop skin back in Season 7. When I stopped playing for a really, really long while. So I don't have it, but it is in the game. I was going to talk about the Wazashi from Fallout 2, but it's not in the game. Well, I mean, it's in the game, but it's a skin, so adding a samurai sword at this point would just kind of be pointless. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did disagree with me saying that Gladiator is super underpowered, by all means, leave your takes in the comments. I like to debate on topics like these. And I just want to bring balance, I mean, just change in general to this game. Because it's pretty unbalanced in the current state it is. It's also in a weird state for me. I might talk about that next week. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did like it, once again, please leave a like. Subscribe. We have hit over 400. Thank you guys so much. It means the absolute world to me. But my name is Skies, and I will talk to you all later. Peace.